It's now 3 o'clock in Saint Lucia. Over on the other side of the pond, 9 p.m. for my friends who are joining in from France and from Switzerland at this point in time. Let me bid everyone a hearty welcome to this, the third in our I Am Lucian webinar series. So far, I think that it's been really great. What we've accomplished, where we have gotten to, some of the things that we've looked at. And I'm really excited, again, just to share with everyone here the traction that this seems to be having, in that I'm having folks reaching out to me and saying, oh, I saw it, and they can't even remember where they saw it from, and they're logging in and they're sharing stories with me. And I think that this makes it really, really exciting, because as I've said on a previous recording, I think that this can easily become a movement, and a movement that shows us that we as the people, we have the power. We do not need to sit down and wait for government to do certain things, to enact certain things. We take action, and we then drive the movement, the change that we believe we would like to see. So I just want to thank everyone for their support, for your support in terms of that, helping to move the needle as we look at who we are as a people, and how recognizing who we are can help us to achieve our greatest potential. I want to take a moment and just thank a couple of persons before I introduce my guests who are on today, the panelists who are on. Really, really want to say a heartfelt thank you to the folks at NTN. When I shared with them that, look, I've got this series and I would love to see it featured through NTN, and straight away it was like, yeah, sure, Kirk, come on over. In fact, come, let's do a recording. And so much so, when I shared with the folks there that the second episode that we did featured a bit of a discussion on the royal visit, what its implications were, etc., they said to me, Kirk, we are going to run that episode on the week coinciding with the royal visit. And as I have shared in an email earlier, I was actually selected as the official photographer, Saint Lucia's official photographer. So there were 3 British photographers and myself as the only photographers there. And we had absolute unrestricted access. And I did share with the officials, look, this is how I feel about it. This is what I have spoken to. And I want to make that clear, because there's an elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. And I have no intention of being a bull in a china shop. You know, that was the way that I put it. But I think that it is important for us as a people, as we grow, as we mature as a nation, we must be able to speak to the things that impact us and speak to what we believe our best interests are. I mean, this is our inalienable right. That's truly how I felt. I want to thank Sylvester Closel, because he was the one who said to me, hey, Kirk, I think that you should add in something on the royal visit. I think this will make for really interesting discussion. And I thought it very interesting that folks didn't really take up on it. And I don't know if it might be because we have a little bit of a hesitation, a reservation, etc. But again, you know that it's been said that the squeaky wheel is the one that gets the grease. So really, if something impacts us, it's important for us to speak up about it. But be balanced and tempered in our speaking, unless more action is called for. So those are a couple of people that I wanted to just sort of reach out to and hail up. Want to say a special greeting to Dawn French, who sent me a special little surprise today. Labor Day it is. And I think of Dawn as the Facebook queen. Sorry, not the Facebook queen, the links queen. Oh my God, Dawn was posting so many links last time and continues to post links. And even today, she shared some links with me on Independence, on Labor Day. what it means, how it came about, etc. And also shared some stuff that she has shared on this series. So thanks there, Dawn. Jordan, who promised to send me some questions, Flora, who was asking about this series, just calling out a couple of persons, someone I ran into by way of Japan, who calls himself King Sean, and he has an interesting story, and I think more of that will come out along the way. So I'm just sharing all of these insights with folks just to share with you a little bit of some of the energy that has been surrounding this series. With that said, let me make reference to our panelists today. So far, we have had the guys on, and by and large coming out of Saint Lucia. And I thought, in fact, it was Winston Fulgens, thanks for that, a little while back, who said to me, Kirk, remember to include the ladies, because very often when we have these sorts of conversations, we tend to leave them out. And so heartfelt thanks to Winston for that, because I probably would have been guilty of the same. But having said that, I then thought that as we were looking, as I was looking at folks to engage with, Kim Borai, who is on today, Kim absolutely came to mind, because we've had us of African descent. We have had Mark on, who is white, Caucasian, not born in Saint Lucian, but very much Lucian. And I thought, okay, let's look at some of the other ethnicities. And as Kim likes to refer to herself as being Indo-Caribbean, there is that other side of it. So I thought, wow, great to have Kim on. Kim is a Lucian in the diaspora, but her heart is so much in Saint Lucia that right now she's in Saint Lucia, going to be going back to the US in a little while, but coming straight back home. Mm-hmm. And then there is Antonia, there's Joanne, well, Joanne we generally refer to her as. And Joanne I met, it was actually before COVID. Met Joanne purely by accident, ran into her again through this series, and it was just an amazing interaction, finding out about some of what she does as well, her being in the diaspora. I thought, wow, what a great way to start off a session with the ladies and bringing in a different mix. So just wanted to do that by way of introduction to them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Kim in to just share some of her experiences in Saint Lucia as a Lucian, what being Lucian means to her, how traveling and spending time away, living abroad in the US, how that has impacted her, how it has impacted her feeling about Saint Lucia, how coming back home now, what's the impact of that? What does she see? How does she see that we could do things in a different way, in a more improved way, or things that are great, or things that were nice before, that sort of stuff. So just really sharing some thoughts, some insights. So Kim, let me invite you in. First of all, introduce yourself, share a little bit about you, etc., and just go pretty much along the lines of where we've gone, and we will just go with the flow with it. And before bringing Kim on, let me also just invite folks to, as always, post any questions that you have in the chat, questions or comments, and I will then go on and read those out just as we have been doing. So Kim, all yours.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Kim Borai, born in Vieux Fort. I am of Indian descent. I told Kirk before, growing up, I felt like I thought I mean, at some point I thought it might have been some sort of racism, but in hindsight, I think it was just I don't know, probably just jealousy. People used to make fun of me because of the color of my skin and my coolie hair. I wanted my hair to be kinky growing up. I would try to put braids in my hair, so when they came, when I braided my hair, it would be kinky. So I wanted to be what you call. I wanted to have black girl magic back then because of the way I was teased. Well, yeah, it was basically teasing, I would say. Um, I was teased relentlessly about my father because, you know, he was considered to be wealthy, but I never considered that I was wealthy. I just call it financial security, you know. Um, I had a great childhood. We spent a lot of time on the beach and just going to the countryside. Nothing exciting, but it was just a great childhood spent with family, um, extended family, and just everybody hanging out at night with my cousins. It was a great childhood. Then when I approached my teenage years, it started to become boring. It started to become serious. Oh, I ended up going to, at 12 years old, I started school at the convent. So I had to commute to Castries, and I ended up having to stay there during the week. And of course, I had serious homesickness. I mean, what? Yeah, so homesickness, yeah. So and I almost thought I wouldn't make it. I thought maybe I'd have to come back to Vieux Fort because it was really hard. I mean, I was 12 years old and I had overprotective parents. I look back on it and I just don't know how they were able to just let me go, live at somebody's house Monday through Friday for school. But then I guess by the time I hit Form 3, I started loving it and not wanting to go back to Vieux Fort. But I had to. My parents demanded that I come home every weekend. So that continued until I graduated from A level with Kirk. And then I was too excited to get out of Saint Lucia. Mostly, I think it was at that, from my perspective, I think it was because my parents were so strict that I was happy to get out of Saint Lucia. I did not experience Saint Lucia like my classmates. I wasn't allowed to go to the social and all these things. So I was happy to get out of Saint Lucia. And then yeah, I was happy to be in America for a long time, from 1984 until 2021. I I went to school in Louisiana and then moved to Virginia and raised my kids there. And I loved America. I worked, I had my goals. I never intended on moving back to St. Lucia because I just thought I was gonna just stay in America and live the American dream. And then COVID hit and I reflected on where I was. I found myself working these long hours as a pharmacist in the hospital and having a huge tax burden. And I just said, oh my God, this is Armageddon and I'm stuck up here. I'm here paying taxes like crazy. I reflected on my life and I decided that I would be better off going to St. Lucia and live and being more free. I always felt like in America, I always felt threatened, legally threatened I also had a real estate business. I also have a real estate business in America and in Virginia. And I always felt legally threatened with all these, all these fines, and just, it was really a burden. I decided, you know what, I think I'm gonna be, I would feel freedom in Saint Lucia. I can come to Saint Lucia and develop some real estate that I had, which I never intended on doing. I just neglected everything. So I decided to come back and do this, and it's gonna benefit the community. I'm not looking to be rich. I am not gonna get the big paycheck I was getting in Virginia. I just parted with that, and I'm fine with that. I'm at peace with it. I'm not gonna ever make that much money in Saint Lucia, but I will not. I also will not be having to such a huge tax burden, and it just. I think everything equals out in the end. Um, I just love being in Saint Lucia now, and trying to get things off the ground, jumpstart some projects, and it's working out well. I love being in St. Lucia. I enjoy doing all the things I didn't get to do as a young girl because my parents were so strict. And I'm really, yeah, I'm going everywhere. I'm taking it all in. It's great. I don't, I'm not looking to be wealthy down here. I want to just make enough to live well, take a couple of trips a year, eat good, and just help Vieux Fort specifically look better. I'd like to contribute to that. And I think I'll be able to do that while I'm here. Yeah, I'm mostly focused on Vieux Fort. I love Vieux Fort. I just feel really happy being in Vieux Fort. I live right in the middle of town. I have no plans to move out of the town. I could always just move out to somewhere for great view and of the ocean. But yeah, I live in the hood, and I love it. I like looking out my window and seeing people walking to work, looking all cute and neat, and the kids coming from school, and the vendors, and being able to walk to the grocery store. I love all that. And when I think people who live out of St. Lucia, they talk about the crime in St. Lucia as a reason that they would never move back to St. Lucia. I know a lot of the crime is targeted crime. It's not random like in America. I mean, I heard when I lived in Virginia, I heard gunshots in the woods, because guns, everybody's got guns, and these rednecks driving around in their trucks and their Confederate flags and gun racks on the back of their trucks. Why should I don't have any fear of the crime in St. Lucia because I just don't feel targeted. Whereas in America, you can be a target anytime, any minute. So yeah, so one thing was the crime. Then the other thing is the healthcare, which I'm concerned about healthcare in St. Lucia because it's bothering me. Actually, that's one of the things I worry about. But so far, I'm in good health, so I'm just gonna go with that. I got local insurance. The American healthcare system is not that great. Not as great as people think it is. You have to pay you have to really pay for good healthcare insurance in America. And it's very expensive. So I wish I would like Saint Lucians to realize how expensive healthcare is, and if they really want some top of the line hospitals in Saint Lucia, we're gonna really have to put some money out for that, ourselves. Like, people expect to get, such cheap services when they go to the hospital. Now, St. Jude's is at the whatever that place is. And people always complain about the healthcare in St. Lucia. Well, we should. I applaud the healthcare professionals who continue to work under these circumstances. And we really should never go into the hospital and talk about how the nurse was so rude or whatever, no bedside manner, because these people are working under awful conditions. And as far as the professionals that we have, our doctors are excellent. I think our doctors are really good, and they provide excellent patient care. I mean, when you go to see the doctor, the doctor is the one checking you out, okay, and not the nurse or an office assistant. So I think we take our healthcare professionals down here for granted. They're doing a great job, and they're very well qualified, and they are well educated. And I enjoy going to get my visits when I go to my doctor. I know I'm going to see my doctor and not see him for 2 minutes. Yeah, he's with me for at least 30 minutes, and that's a really great deal. The amount you pay for that office visit is a deal, and yeah, that's all I have.
So Kim,
Yeah.
thanks so much for that. And I just allowed you to flow. And it's funny, right? Again, I just want to share here. Hearty thanks to Kim, because it's funny, when we first interacted, you were sharing, Kirk, I'm actually kind of reserved, but I'm going to do this for you. So much appreciate that. And what for me was beautiful was your heartfelt sharing. I don't know for other folks who are on here and other folks who may or may not know Kim, but as she indicated, you and I go back from A-level. We did A-level together. And when you shared with me what you shared, growing up, wanting to have the kinky hair, feeling, alienated, I was absolutely blown away. Because here it is, I mean, anyone who knows the Boriel name know that Boriel goes with wealth in Vieux Fort. I mean, Kim was just absolutely gorgeous back then, so well put together, still is a stunning beauty today. And then to hear you sharing your personal perspective, your feelings of insufficiency, etc., you're wanting to go away. And I think that is just so magnificent, amazing for sharing. So thanks for that. Because what I believe it does is it helps. I can just imagine who else might be resonating with what you are saying, with what you have shared, who may recognize, oh my God, I don't need to beat up on myself, because here is someone who, for all intents and purposes, has it all put together, but is saying these things. So really thanks for that. And I'm hoping that when we open this up, folks, I mean, post your questions in the Q&A section, that we can have some engagement on this, because this is what I have always wanted to see in terms of speaking to I am Lucian. What is it about Saint Lucia? What is it that makes us special? And unless and until we identify that in ourselves, we will not have the ability to be the best that we can be. And all so often we tend to think of the grass in the other man's backyard as greener, not recognizing how beautiful, green, and lush our own grass is. So thanks so much for that, Kim. And let me invite Joanne now to share some of Joanne and some of feelings about Saint Lucia and the series and what we seek to accomplish. And I want to say, just before bringing on Joanne, oh my God, what a different perspective and a balancing perspective coming out from a lady, as opposed to what we the guys were talking about, because we are the ones who generally are going out and we're going to change the world and do this and do that and so on. But wow, just that substance, that foundational substance. Yeah. So thanks again for that, Kim. And Joanne, all yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. And keeping with the theme, I had to go find my straw hat. And yes, I'm mad at Kirk and I'm mad at Kim because they're home and I want to be home. I will start with this. Kim's story, fascinating, absolutely fabulous. And what I love about a program like that, and what I like coming from the perspective of a social scientist, is how necessary a story like Kim's is. Because the little black girls with the kinky hair wanted your hair. And here you are wanting ours. But we wouldn't know that if we didn't have this exchange, because we hardly ever meet on those crossroads. You would stay in your world and we would stay in ours, and we would hardly ever get to know that story unless we're part of your intimate circle. So that's where I'm going to end with your story, only because it's that important. But going to me in the diaspora, growing up in Saint Lucia, most of my life was in Saint Lucia. I had a stint where I left for 3 years and went to meet my mom in Chicago, came back for high school, went to CCSS, lived with my grandmother in the CDC, and then my uncle in Saint Lucia, and in latter years, my aunt, Martha Williams, in Saint Lucia as well. Heritage going back to Daba and Saltibus, which is where we would be going in the summer for a week or two, which I hated. I couldn't stand the countryside. I didn't want to be in the countryside. I couldn't stand the CDC, didn't want to be in the CDC. I wanted to get the heck out of St. Lucia as quickly as I could, which is small island thinking. It's small, you don't know, you're a teenager, and the grass looks really green when you're a teenager anywhere else but on your little island. I left when I was, 18, went to live with my dad in Florida, spent most of my time there, married Bahamian, lived in the Bahamas, came back to St. Lucia. My husband was in a plane crash. So I was widowed with children to raise. The struggle of raising children as a single mother was overwhelming. Budget-wise, there was a lot that I could not give to my children. Thinking of culture was definitely not something on my mind. It was about survival. I was lucky to have a dad who was very cultural, very St. Lucian, huge in his pride for our island. And whenever he would visit, he would take the children to cultural events that perhaps I couldn't probably afford to take them on my own because my budget was really skeletal. And he exposed them to Caribbean culture at a level that I never did. So I have to give thanks to him, because today my children are transnational. They're as Bahamian as they are St. Lucian, as they are American. And I am grateful for that. The annual carnival celebrations would have been my thing, where I take my children. And in terms of our meals, I gave them the culture through what was the preparation of dinners that they would have to eat. But in terms of the discipline, my kids would wake up going, Lord, when their friends are doing the things that I was probably becoming maybe Kim's father, my kids would be, they wish they didn't have a Caribbean mother. I cannot stand having a Caribbean mother. And it was challenging being a Caribbean mother in America, because we did not have a core experience. We did not have a core experience in terms of what my value system might be against somebody else's value system, which is good and bad to have diversity in a classroom, in a school, in a community. But because the value systems vary so much, you're constantly fighting to keep hold of what you think your Saint Lucian values are, or your Bahamian values are, along with the American values, because it's a conjoining of all of those values, an amalgam of all of those values that's necessary for raising children in America. I got an opportunity to become an educator, and in so doing, I had to put on history competitions. And in doing history competitions, I had to study about the African American history, which I was not fully aware of. In so doing, I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions of what it is to be Black in America, because you can say you're Lucian all you want, you can say you're Jamaican all you want, you can say you're Trini all you want. If you land in America, you're Black. Let's not pretend here, you're Black. And you're going to have to deal with some of the experiences that any Black person would have to deal with. Now, America has a lot of opportunities, and there are a lot of things to be privy to, and I'm thankful for that. I would not regret that. But questions started to arise in me when I had to put on those history competitions in schools. Furthermore, I had, where my last daughter graduated from high school, and it was me and me alone in the world, and I was excited about that. And I could do anything, and what I wanted to do was live in Africa. So I wanted to have as many experiences as I could have. I wanted to live and experience the world around me, because for the first time, no one was truly tethered to me, and I was not truly tethered to anyone. So I went to Sudan. Go figure. I had the option between China, Sudan, and Argentina. And I wanted an experience that was so different from any experience that I've ever had, that Sudan was it for me. So I spent a year implementing the American curriculum in Sudan. I traveled with my children. My kids came back and forth because that was my base. And we traveled a lot of the ancient world, some by myself, some with my kids. And we had opportunities to visit so many nations that it's the ancient world. What more could you possibly want? But in so doing, I had so many questions that came up. Moving into a Muslim society, a lot of parallels between my Christian upbringing with a Muslim upbringing, a lot of questions as to, well, why am I Christian? And if I was in a Muslim nation, would I have been Muslim? And what is different about the religions? And who are we being Black? And what does it mean to be Black? And how did this all come about? I had questions that were ridiculous. I came back to the US. I started studying history at the university. Believe it or not, for my 50th birthday, everybody was having their balls and the parties. And I was like, for my 50th, I want to go back to university. And this time I need answers. I'm not looking for career. I'm looking for answers to all of these questions that I have. And I started studying history. Painful. It was extremely painful. There were lots of tears. There were a lot of decompressing in the Everglades, because so much we've been told is not necessary what is. And sometimes the narrative that takes form is not the true narrative. So it really affected me on a personal level, and it made me want to have some impact. On graduation with the history degree, I won unexpectedly a full degree all the way to the PhD in cultural anthropology. It was what we call a master's en passant. I decided that I would jump off with the master's, but my thesis was based on COVID in Saint Lucia, which is where we met in Balenbouche. And funny enough, COVID was good to me, and I know it was a hard thing for the world, but I did have a good story because of COVID. So the university paid for me to go and do research in Saint Lucia on COVID and how it's impacting the schools in Saint Lucia. And any ethnographical research in anthropology requires about 10 months or more. So I was lucky to get 10 months in Saint Lucia because I could do work from here, I could teach from there, and I could take classes from there. So it was a win-win situation and get it paid for. In so doing, I got re-immersed into what it is to be Saint Lucian. I was, for the first time, leaving quarantine, waking up on a former slave plantation in Balenbouche and sitting on the balcony and thinking, oh my God, how perfect is this? How perfect could this be for me? In so doing, I was able to reconnect with my friends, my high school best friends, Elsa, Tama, Chris, Terrence, and I was able to have discussions. I was able to, what we call in anthropology, to be a participant observer on the island. And I was reconnecting to my country. I was reconnecting to what it was to be Saint Lucian. And damn, I loved it. There was a new love affair going on with me in Saint Lucia. There was a new love affair with being amongst the people. There was a new love affair with walking in the markets, a new love affair with the artisans who create jewelry. There was a love affair with the food because I gained 20 pounds. And yes, I'm a foodie. And yes, I love me some bouillon like you all don't want to know. Crazy love me my bouillon. But something like black pudding that I thought was gross, and getting a reconnection with how those foods became and how whatever the slaves were given, they made the best of it. Something like pig feet sauce. Look here, I can't entertain anymore if I don't have a pig feet sauce. There's a new connection for me to what it is to be Saint Lucian. Now, mind you, it was always my goal to move back home once my children were grown, because I am a nature lover like you cannot believe. And the opportunity to work there didn't come. So my thing is now that I'm spending time in America making my dollar, and the goal is I spend at least 40% of my time, summers, Christmas, and spring in Saint Lucia, and be here. My give back to my island is my research will be solely based on Saint Lucia, with the hope that discussions start. Discussions like Kim's experience as being an Indo-Caribbean, mine as being an African descendant, those who are from the Middle East, the Syrians, their stories, the indentured servants who came from India, their stories. We need to know our stories. We need to reconnect to who we are as Saint Lucian and have pride in it so that our youth are not ready to run out of Saint Lucia. We must work on the education of who we are as a people, because we're not just one group. We're 4, 5, we're European as well. You know, we might want to run away from the European heritage, or in some cases want to say that's all we are. But the truth of the matter is, we are an amalgam of people who are experiencing a hybrid culture, and it is the education that's going to have us appreciate all of who we are. So I am proud to be Saint Lucian, and I can't wait to be fully Saint Lucian, where I move back home and continue to share what my father shared with my children, the story of who we are.
So, thanks.
Great. I love that.
Thanks for that, Joanne. And oh my God, I mean, wow, wow, wow. Again, I'm just coming back to that foundational substance of the ladies. And I think as well, just really amazing, especially for those persons who only know Saint Lucia, because there's so many of us in Saint Lucia, so many persons in Saint Lucia who have never traveled, and for whom, because tourism is the primary economic fuel, we can so easily develop a sense of inferiority and a sense of superiority about that white visitor coming in. So what you ladies have shared, I believe is also powerful, and it's coming from the heart, not from something that has been, not from a sanitized position, because in sanitizing, it's so easy to lose the essence. So that for me is really beautiful. So once again, saying many, many thanks to both yourself, Joanne, and to Kim. And I think that our audience has also been appreciating this, because let me just read out some of what is coming in. Andrew posted, Andrew, thanks for this. Thanks, Kim. I'm interested in knowing if you feel that leaving the island has given you a different perspective and appreciation of Saint Lucia and what it means to you. He continues, how has living in the US helped you get the things you currently do? How has living in the US helped you get the things you currently do in Saint Lucia? So Kim, that one is yours. Again, I'm interested in knowing if you feel that leaving the island has given you a different perspective and appreciation of Saint Lucia, and what that means to you.
I guess once I left to attend college, I had every intention of returning to Saint Lucia. But because I got married to an American, I ended up staying up there, having children and working. The whole time I'm there, I was thinking, I mean, after a few years of living and working in America, I realized that I guess I'm a bit different in terms that Saint Lucia made me, America didn't make me. Like people leave Saint Lucia and they move to America to, you know, become more financially secure, right? Yeah. But that was not the case for me. Saint Lucia made me, you know. What was the question again?
Okay, yeah. So it was really asking what perspective has leaving the island given you, and then also, and I think you just answered the second bit. How has living in the US helped you get the things that you currently do in Saint Lucia? How has it helped you to be better at them? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, America didn't help me at all. In fact, I was investing more in America than I was investing in Saint Lucia financially. And that is something I regret doing. And which is why I'm so determined now to make up for it. And while I'm here, that I'm definitely gonna make up for this by, you know, why the hell did I invest money in America? I could have done it here. You know, after I became older and wiser, then I realized it was a big mistake. So it's not too late. I'm here and I'm gonna do it. And what was the first part again?
Yeah, the first part was that he's interested in knowing if you feel that leaving the island has given you a different perspective and appreciation for Saint Lucia.
Yeah, the main thing is that I don't feel threatened in Saint Lucia in any way. I don't feel threatened with my freedom. I don't feel threatened by other people who consider this is my country. You know, I feel free here. I don't have people looking at me like I'm a strange, like I'm not supposed to be there. You know, when Joanne was talking about raising her kids in America, I noticed that my kids, they were very confused about their identity in America. They experienced, it was really strange having to, I couldn't understand, I didn't know what to tell my kids. I mean, they were going to school and Black kids would tell them you're not Black, and white kids would not tell them you're not white. So they wanted me to tell them what they were, you know? And I'm like, you Black? Yeah, you're Black, you know? And the Black people don't want to accept them as being Black. So it was so strange. So yeah, I think I would have been better off raising my kids in Saint Lucia, honestly. And I'm only seeing that in hindsight. But yeah, I rolled with the punches in America. That's basically what I did. So
Kim,
yeah.
Thanks for that. And if I can just follow on with a little something based on the discussion that we had some time ago, Kim, when we met up. And you actually alluded to it here again today. And I think that the US has given you this greater appreciation for home. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, Vieux Fort is your heart.
Yes.
And it was very interesting listening to you speaking about the development that you want to do in Vieux Fort. And you speak into wanting to provide commercial space at a rent that will not break the bank for your tenant.
Exactly.
I mean, that was amazing to hear from you. You speak into that building that you sold, and you said it has been boarded up for 20 years, and you're so delighted to see how someone has taken it over and how it is uplifting the main street.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, sorry, you want to say something more, Kim?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see, you know. That's what I like to see. I realize that most Saint Lucians who have moved overseas, they will not be returning to Saint Lucia. But I realize that they do help their relatives who live in Saint Lucia. You know, they infuse money into Saint Lucia. And yeah, like these people deserve opportunities, you know. I'd like to be somebody who would say, I'm renting space to somebody who has a business, and I'm not trying to get rich off of them, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is great. And I think it also comes back to the point that you were making, Kim, in the second part of the question where Andrew asked, how has living in the US helped you in St. Lucia? And the truth is, like you indicated, hey, you were already financially secure. So you weren't one of those persons who went to the US to make it.
Right.
And like you say, now that you look back, you can see, oh my God, there was so much opportunity here.
Exactly.
Right. And I think what is an important takeaway from this would be, how does that, your being Lucian, how does that inspire others to recognize the value of what we have? How can we as a people come together? You speak to the fight or the disregard. So the whites tell you that you're not whites, the black tell you that you're not black. Here in St. Lucia, initially, the blacks made you feel that you were not good enough because you're Indian. But in a way, they were jealous of you, and you were jealous of them. And Joanne spoke to it. How do we break the cycle of that? Because that is coming at it from a position of scarcity rather than abundance.
Oh, Kirk, Kirk.
All hold hands and move ahead to greater? And I'm going to pause because, Joanne, I can see you're itching to come.
I'm getting hot. Look here. If there's one major system of teaching, not just education, not just academics, but actually teaching, school systems. You know what really blew me away while I was in St. Lucia? Trying to get an autobiography or a biography on John Compton, and not one bookstore had one. Who are we when the leader who took us to independence, be him great or not, having your perspective on him, whatever it may be, who are we when on an island, we don't have the person who took us to independence, where we don't have a book to be found, whether it's for tourists, whether it's for the young lady, the young mother coming back home who wants to share it with her children? Who have we become, or what are we, when we don't have the basic education of lifting up our heroes? Whether you like them or not, that should be available. So the education system is the #1 system of enculturation. If we do not have pride in our culture, yes, everybody will go, it's the families are breaking down. Life happens. But the education system is a formal structure that should not only be focused on academics. And my excitement to hear Creole now being taught in schools, my excitement to sit in a linguistics class, a linguistics master's class, and seeing my island name come up because we have a Creole dictionary. You have to understand that the appreciation for who we are, so that we're not always running to other nations for identity, like Kim and I had to do. We had to run to America to realize, oh, shoot, it's Saint Lucia. That made us who we are. It is Saint Lucia we should be appreciating.
Yes.
And our children can appreciate being Saint Lucian while they're in Saint Lucia if we give them the pride of what it is to be Saint Lucian. And forget just Saint Lucia, what it is to be a member of the Caribbean. All of what it is: Chinese, Indian, Middle Eastern, Black, European. If you're in Saint Lucia, become Saint Lucian and give something back. And we should want something back. We should say that we want to participate in this revolution of what it is to be Saint Lucian, because it's going to be a revolution to change our thinking.
Thanks again for that, Joanne. And God, loving the passion that's coming out, and it's also firing up the audience. Here is another comment, and this one comes from Ancina Norley. To all the panelists coming back, what do you think about some of the cultural changes, good or bad? Joanne, let me put that to you, and then we'll come around Kim, and then I will take a little bit of it.
All right, what do I think about the cultural changes? I will say I find we have more of an appreciation for our culture than we probably ever did. I see a movement where people are really going back to who they were and loving it. I love me some Creole Day. Goodness, I love it. I like everything about that. I had a friend of mine who did some postings on Choiseul. He had a fundraiser in Choiseul, and they were playing music with, I couldn't tell you what the instruments were. I would say they were a piece of this and a piece of that. But goodness mercy, that is fabulous. That's beyond fabulous. I find us going back to who we are. I find us having an appreciation for who we are. And I would like that to be as structured as we are doing at the Creole. And I would like us to be, I'd like Creole Day to be every day in Saint Lucia. I think every hotel, you should not be staying in a hotel in Saint Lucia if you never had the pig feet sauce and the pudding and the chicken back. Every hotel should have a Creole Day. No tourist should leave Saint Lucia and not taste bouillon. Stop it. We need to be able to tell them why these things came about, how they were made, how the Indians gave us roti. We need to be able, soon we'll be eating Middle Eastern food everywhere we go, but that's going to be part of who we become. So the hotels should be, every hotel should have a Creole Day once a week. No tourist should land in Saint Lucia and not know what it is to be Saint Lucian, if not only for one day in that week they're here. They must experience it. It's a phenomenal experience. Come on.
Thanks, Joanne. Kim, your thoughts? Again, let me just say, coming back, what do you think about some of the cultural changes, good or bad?
I think it's changed for the best. Yeah, everybody's embracing their Lucianness, and I love it. I think that, you know, folks are not trying to leave Saint Lucia at the fast rate that we used to. Saint Lucians are great. I mean, they have an entrepreneurial spirit, I find. You know, I really love that about Saint Lucia. Everybody's got their businesses, and you know, it's really great. People, I just love it. You know, Black Americans don't think that way. I find, you know? Yeah. So people they really have that entrepreneurial spirit, even if it's just to be selling your stuff by the road, you know, that's great. I love it, you know? And I think we should all support people, these type of vendors, all these vendors, I mean, it may look hard, but you know, life in America is hard, really hard, you know. It's not that great.
Kim, I will add to what you're saying about the entrepreneurial spirit, because we do, it's a matter of survival. but there's also a servile spirit, a spirit of mendicancy. There are those who feel somebody should give them, and we do have to work our way out of that. There are those who feel you have more and I need some of that. And there are those who are waking up and still looking to serve. Like, how do I become your servant? As opposed to your employer, we're still looking to become employees. So we still have some of that to work on. But dang, the conversation should be had so that we know we've got to move forward. Again, education.
Yeah. Yep.
So thanks for that, ladies. If I can just add from my perspective, and I am tickled, Alcina, because so many people have the idea that I have lived in the US, which I haven't. The Caribbean is truly my home. Though I was born in Saint Lucia, I actually grew up in Antigua because my mom is Antiguan, and Barbados is very dear at heart to me because my father is Bajan. I studied in Jamaica, and Jamaica is probably the island that I identify the most with. And I think I identify because Jamaica was the place, one, where I encountered the least racism. Like, people dealt with you for who you were, your qualité, and not your skin color. I mean, that was amazing. And also Jamaicans are fiercely loyal and defensive and protective of each other. And that has just blown me away. You touch one person in the group, that person could be the weakest. Let me tell you, you in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to see us go to that place. And I come back again to that idea, the sense of scarcity. And it has been foisted upon us to fight with each other. We get told about the crabs in the barrel mentality. Let us reject that notion, and let us embrace the notion that a rising tide will float every boat in the harbor, because perception is reality. So if we constantly speak about the tearing down, we will continue to tear down. Let us celebrate uplifting. So now, coming back to how do I see the cultural changes, for good or for bad? The cultural changes are exciting and amazing because they're speaking to our growth and our maturity, our coming of age. And as an example, let us take the Denry segment. When that came out, it was considered to not be considered. It's vulgar, it's obscene, it's that, it come from the country, it ghetto, ça c'est by habitation. But if we have to speak to who is our greatest musical icon, I would probably have to say Boo. Boo has played for President Clinton. Boo has been a judge for the Grammys. But I remember someone saying this to me, and I haven't verified it, but I'm going to repeat it. The person said that Denry segment has over 15 million views on YouTube. But Boo, who is our musical icon, has maybe in the vicinity of 15,000. Now, I haven't verified the numbers, but we get the point. And so I come back to why Jamaica so resonates with me. Anywhere you meet a Jamaican, they tell you that we are the best. Anything that they mention about it, we are the best. That's the best. That's the best there. Jerk chicken is everything is the best.
Kirk, I remind you,
right?
I just came from Sierra Nevada. I was visiting the Tairona tribe in Colombia. Let me tell you here, a Bob Marley flyer in the middle of the jungle. Ain't nobody ever talk about Norman Manley. Ain't nobody talk about O.V. Pinling in the Bahamas. But I have traveled the world, and there is no place that I've landed, particularly in Africa, where Bob Marley is everywhere. And Jamaicans, the elite in Jamaicans did not even want to accept Bob Marley. I love me a split in the middle. I'm sorry. I love me some Denry segment. I love it. I love it. Let the
Now,
children grow at their own pace.
Yes.
yes. Now, there's one thing that I would like to touch on, and it has to do with entrepreneurship. Joanne, I love what you're sharing about, you know, the hotels and Creole food and so on. I would like to take it to an even deeper level.
Creole food and performances, everything Creole.
But I'll tell you what, tourism is the economic driver, our economic driver. Tourism, by and large, benefits to the greatest extent the direct foreign investor with large sums of money. I believe it's time for us to look to us in St. Lucia gaining a bigger slice of the pie. So now, how do we, and this government seems to be, in fact, is moving on the right pathway towards this. How do we embrace the little woman selling the sauce and the black pudding on the side of the road? Now, we have to look at the health issues. We have to look at health and safety, all of those things. But how do we empower her? How do we put her in a safer environment, in a more salubrious environment without losing the cultural essence of it? Because visitors are also wanting these cultural experiences,
Authentic
experiences.
Yes.
So we must now look at uplifting, empowering, educating. And this is one of the things, I mean, this is one of the things that has so excited me about the project that I have undertaken at Fongelib at the base of Gopiton. One of the things that we have had in place is taking some of those young trainee guides. Let's take them to Barbados and let them experience a level of service and service excellence like they have never seen. Let's come back in the evenings and have a discussion on it. What did they learn? Give them some money so that they can tip as well. And how do we start that fire here in St. Lucia so that now we start to move away from that sense of mendicancy? Let us become owners, because the visitor comes here for a week. We have it 52 weeks a year, right? It costs them 10,000.
We can monetize our culture. We can definitely monetize our culture. And there's a market for it. There's a market for it.
There's definitely a market for it. Yep.
Now, we have gone for an hour now, and I know it doesn't seem like that. This is really going great. We've got another half hour on. What I want to do is just run through a couple more of the comments that are coming in. I saw a note a little while ago in the chat where Dawn put out something, and I referred to Dawn earlier as our link queen. So Dawn put out a link to something on Amazon that speaks to Sir John. So that was interesting. And what I will do is I will share, as always, share whatever links are shared. I will share it in a follow-up email. But just going on with some of the other comments that have come in. Andrew again, thanks, Joanne. I was very interested to hear about your time in Sudan. I have visited West, East, and South Africa. Would you say it is useful and even essential for us born in the West to visit Africa if we have the opportunity? So that one is right at you, Joanne.
Ay, Maria, look here. Any opportunity you get to travel, baby, get on that flight and travel. And travel is not even just getting on a flight. When I was a mother and I didn't have the money to do the hotels that I can afford to do now, truly, I can't afford to do those hotels, but I do them anyhow because I like to travel. But the truth is, my kids would get in my Explorer, we'd put a tent in the back, and we would travel throughout Florida and camp because travel is in me. Any opportunity you get to visit somewhere new, to experience somewhere new, baby, get to it, and start with wherever you are. Start with your community, start with your island. We always feel we have to go elsewhere. Look here, enjoy what you have and build on it. And you will be able to help building on it because the desire will be in you to want more. And your children, Stop these $100 damn shoes. Stop the Gucci and the Cartier, though we don't do that in Saint Lucia, but the diaspora has become part of that culture.
Yes.
Look here, put your children on a plane, put your children in a car, put your children on a train, go visit places. My kids and I during COVID got in the car, drove around America for 3 weeks. And hotels were cheap thanks to COVID, but we were just opening from lockdown. The country was just reopening from lockdown. You gotta experience new things. You just have to.
Thanks, Joanne. Kim, any further thoughts?
No.
Okay, cool. From Niall Jean, hope I got that right. We do have an entrepreneurial spirit. However, we do not support local. We mostly order online. We need to understand the reason behind this and eventually curb this issue. I'm going to say just half a heartbeat on that. Absolutely correct. One is that in a lot of instances, we have limited disposable income. So sometimes it can be cheaper to order something online. That is one. Two, it comes back to that idea of scarcity and us not supporting each other. Comes back to what I spoke about with the Jamaicans. For the Jamaican, everything Jamaican is a mess. I'm going to buy from my fellow Jamaican. I'm not going and buy from someone else. So it starts with a sense of self-worth. And this is what this series is about. What is it that makes us Lucian? How can we identify that? And how can we use that to help us be the best that we can be? So it is all enshrined in what we're looking at here. With that, I'll pause. Anyone? Joanne, Kim, any thoughts?
Let me let Kim go, and then I'll go after Kim.
Oh, let
so again,
Joanne
just to come back to it, Kim, just for your benefit, we mostly order, while we have an entrepreneurial spirit, we mostly order online. We need to understand the reason behind this and eventually curb it. So what are your thoughts?
I just think we need to be, if you're in business, you need to offer some goods or services that you don't have to compete with Amazon for, I just find that people are doing some really innovative stuff, and it's, like people who decorate for parties and things like that. It's just amazing to me, You just have to find a niche that's not competitive. So competitive, people like to follow in this, they see somebody doing something and then they want to capitalize on that same type of business. I just feel like you need to be more innovative with the type of service you offer. That's my thoughts on that. Nobody's gonna stop. We won't stop ordering from Amazon, unfortunately. Yeah. And like you say, everybody's gotta, we're on a fixed income, most of us, we can't support somebody charging 5 times what Amazon is charging for an item. That's just basic human thought, right? So that's me, that's how I would approach it. I'm not gonna start a business that's where I'm competing with Amazon. Come on, it's not gonna happen. But look, people are selling clothes in Saint Lucia and they're making a killing, They're selling outfits and fashion, they into fashion. That's a big business here. Because I don't know how they do it, but they are doing it. I have a niece who's into it and she's doing really well, for some reason she can offer the same prices as Amazon, I don't know how that happens, but she won't tell me her secret. Okay. So I don't know how to answer it for anybody else.
So she's created her niche there, Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you're coming back to the point of creating a niche. having
Yeah.
your own branding, and I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
We must be our own stars. We must be the best that there is at what we are, and that really becomes our branding. So absolutely, Kim.
Yep.
Joanne?
I just saw Niall Shaw put up something in the chat. I didn't open it, but I think he said pretty much our goal is to spend, which is one of the problems. But I will say this to all the educators, because there is nothing as essential on an island the size of Saint Lucia as our educators, particularly the educators who are teaching economics. If you're teaching economics, you should be fully aware of what it takes to keep money in Saint Lucia. When I see that Jeff Bezos has a couple trillions of dollars, and no Saint Lucian has made it as a billionaire, I have to question how are we educating our children in schools in terms of economics, because they should know that giving Jeff Bezos $1 more gives him a couple trillion plus one that takes from you in your island. So when you support the local, and don't get me started on M.A.T, because you're really ain't gonna like me if I have to talk on M.A.T. But the bottom of the line is, I understand trade within the Caribbean. I respect the free market within the Caribbean, but how much of the Saint Lucian dollar goes to the Saint Lucian? And then I am not one for laissez-faire policies where the government does not intervene in terms of businesses. You cannot have a society, when you look at what's going on in America, where only a handful has the billions and we're blaming the individuals for not using initiative. You have to put some things in place to help bridge those individuals. Venture capital is needed. And I've seen those houses in Saint Lucia. There's money in Saint Lucia. Let's not fool ourselves. But those who have the money are investing it not in our people. They have pride in investing it everywhere else. And I applaud what Kim is doing. But look at how long it took us as adults in the diaspora to realize what the frig we doing in America when our island needs us. There are people right now in St. Lucia got plenty money. They have to learn that only so much you can spend in one lifetime. Reinvest it to make St. Lucia a little better. Help with the training. We can't leave everything to the government. We can't. Let some of those millionaires, we might have some billionaires, get some venture capital and stop making $1 off of the back of the people. Give something back. Reinvest with our people.
So thanks, Joanne. You know, it goes a bit deeper because with CSME, for instance, there's freedom of movement. I know. And big business can come in. And you know, Joanne, you've hit the nail on the head. We are at a point now where the rich are absolutely getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And the divide is growing faster and greater. And it is so important for us to use education as the tool, an education of empowerment. How do we empower the little child in the countryside whose shoes have holes in them to know that they are just as good as anyone anywhere in the world? Education is available to us. How do we get those kids tablets? How do we get those kids internet access? How do we limit what they're going to get on those devices so that they're empowering? How do we create a competitive educational environment? Right, that's where it starts. We speak about the two Nobel laureates that we have, but like you say, Joanne, why are we not speaking to who is going to be the first St. Lucian billionaire? Who is going to be this? Who is going to be that? And let us, as a people, put our resources, put our energy, put our support behind some persons. It's time that we stop fighting with each other and tearing each other down. Now, let me just move along. Here we go from Again, from Ancina, Lucians and visitors alike can't appreciate our history and culture and accomplished people because we don't recognize them. And that's so true. And this is one of the things that we're speaking towards, even in a series like this. And I want to say as well that when we speak to now hearing, or when we are hearing, patois is being put into the curriculum. We are going to be putting local history and African history into the curriculum. These are all moves in the right direction. When we hear this, the talk about community tourism, and community tourism, where it is done right, where it empowers communities, where it keeps wealth in the communities. Let me take a community like Labrie with the Labrie Credit Union. I met a lady yesterday who says to me, I keep my money at the credit union. I don't put my money in a bank. And
but the credit union puts the money in the bank.
Well, true that. So now, how do we find the ways to bring greater value? How do we find those persons in the diaspora who've got the skills that can also help to create that nurturing and empowering environment? So just some thoughts there, and I am going to continue on because the time is moving by very quickly. We've got about 15 minutes left. Let me see here, coming back to Flora, there's an emergence of Black entrepreneurship and revival in America. It's worldwide, and we must also tap into that here. This is what we are seeking to do, as I shared a moment ago. Flora has asked, Kirk, will you post the ladies' contact on the blog? Once the ladies have agreed that that's okay, then I shall, in terms of any outreach.
I don't have any problem with that.
Absolutely, okay. So we have that coming back from Joanne. Likewise, if anything, one can always reach out to me if you want to ask something in particular, and I can also pass it on. And Alcina has come back. Travel both here and abroad is a game changer. Children who live in Vieux Fort have never been to Gros Islet and vice versa. Learn about Saint Lucia, appreciate Saint Lucia, learn why tourists are spending their hard-earned money to come here. So again, so on point. From Niall, the aim is for our money to be spent locally as much as possible. That way we better aid the country. Again, on point. Flora, how do you attract low to mid-level investors to Saint Lucia? I've heard stories of investors being turned away and shut down by the government. Okay, so now that's a very open. So the first part of it, how do you attract low to mid-level investors to Saint Lucia? And then also the second bit about hearing stories about investors being turned away. The truth is we would actually need to have more information on that. Do we know any of the reasons why they might have been turned away? And the reasons might have been, might have been kosher, as well as they may not have been. But again, without information, one is not able to make an informed decision or statement. But it absolutely is taken. How do we attract low to mid-level investors to Saint Lucia? Ladies, Kim?
That's
as
Kim.
Someone,
That's all Kim, because Kim is a mid-level investor. How do we attract more Kims?
And development and so on.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think are some of the ways that one can attract investors? So I'm not even going to say mid-level, just investors.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like you say, it comes back to the government, trying to have I'm looking for the word, like in Vieux Fort, I think they could have they could make special, what you call it, Kirk, where tax incentives and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So all these different areas that could be developed, they could give people tax incentives. I'm pretty sure that would take off really well, these low, these bad areas, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Offers concessions, you know what I'm saying? Concessions. I think that would be great if the government would offer concessions to St. Lucians living abroad to lure them back into, you know, the places where they came from. To, you remember we were talking about Airbnbs? I mean, people when people build now, everybody's putting rooms onto their homes now because the tourists love it. You know, they love the local experience and they're really going for that sort of thing. And yeah, but I, like in my case, man, I would love to get some concessions. I would even do more than what I, you know, what I'm about to attempt. But that's the main thing, I think.
So Kim, thanks for that. And I can share, I was part of a consultation a couple of weeks ago. It certainly has been within the last month, where government has an initiative, and this is within tourism, to create a more enabling environment for locals to invest in tourism, because government has recognized that there have been challenges in terms of this. It has been my understanding from speaking with the consultants that government has absolutely wanted to fast track this. And I seem to recall that so much so that the consultants had to say, no, we have to slow down because there's certain things that certain checkpoints that must be touched on. And government is talking as early as summer for having a document before them that can be tabled at Parliament. So again, I am happy for this engagement that we are having because it allows that information to come out, for me to be able to share this, and also to get feedback from you, Kim, and from other persons like yourself, you know, with comments that we're getting in terms of the ease of doing business. Yeah. Let me just run through a couple more things that are in here. Thank you, Kim and Joanne, for sharing your life experiences home and abroad, talking about coming from a place of scarcity rather than abundance. So talking about bookshops. Okay, so Dawn has posted that here, the Creole Dictionary. Some interesting experiences. This is from Sean. I noticed that some of the comments, instead of going into the Q&A, have gone into the chat. So that's why I'm just quickly running through here, just so that we can share it all. Some interesting experiences expressed by both guests relative to identity, which resonated with me. Sean, I seem to recall, is in Canada, and Sean proudly sports a Lucian license plate. I seem to recall, yes, Lucian, he has on his license plate. That was in Saint Lucia being perceived as white, but in England, Canada and the US as black, and the associated dynamics. That is, so in Saint Lucia, you're considered white, but once you go out international, suddenly you're black. And oh my God, what a thing that must do to your psyche, because you're coming, yeah, you're coming from a place of being cream of the crop, and then suddenly you're being told that you're nothing. God, wow, yeah. Yeah, okay. We do have an entrepreneurial spirit, however, we do not support locals. Okay, we've gone through that. Lucians and visitors alike can't appreciate our history and culture and accomplished people because we don't recognize them. We had gone through that as well. Can all you speak Creole? Ha ha ha. Thanks, Dawn. The last time I tried talking patois, they tell me it's pacat I was talking, and I was at risk of biting off my tongue. Yeah. But Lyman in the countryside, I have said to the folks there, I will teach them what I know about business and tourism, and in exchange, they will teach me patois. But you dimwe take my word. Further to this, in our country, there's a heightened issue of favors or opportunities based on who you know. What is commonly referred to as preference or preference panorama. Yeah, I think that's what that says, yes. The reason why they have more views than you is because Lucians like all that salacious stuff. Actually, no. It is amazing to see how this has gotten around the world. That is the Denry segment. I remember seeing something where this had become the hot dance in Korea, split in the middle, you know? So again, wow, it is just creativity, it is expression. It's kind of reminiscent of rap music, which was considered, or rather not
Yes,
considered, but wow,
exactly.
has created
Jazz
black
and
billionaires. Right.
so many things.
Everything,
Yeah.
rock and roll.
Thank you. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
had an origin of people saying, and as a social scientist, I can speak to that. There were so many things. Women showing their ankles was, oh my
Yeah.
God, she showed her ankle. She
Yeah.
must be, you know, one of the ladies out there.
Mhm.
If you have to study cultures and study cultures through time, you will be shocked at some of the things that was simply just, how dare them? How dare them speak like that? Come on, people. We know better. Let's do better. It's
Yeah.
2022.
Definitely.
Donna's posted something here that the PM has said that government is going to start a Diaspora Investment Program. We can have CIP, so there will be DIP. So that would be great. And Kim, it speaks to again, some of what you're doing. And, you know, sometimes it's for people not knowing, because I absolutely want to commend Kim, the things that you're doing, the efforts you're making, particularly in your hometown of Vieux Fort.
Yep.
Investors need to be more guided and fitted into the long-term plan to develop Saint Lucia. Is there a plan for Vieux Fort? That would be interesting, and that actually would be a question, I think, for discussion possibly with the district rep.
Let me say one thing. Let me say this regarding that comment.
Yeah.
As an island and as the government in the island, our plans cannot be a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
The plan for our island cannot be based on when elections are going to be. I honestly feel our parties need to sit together and decide what is the plan for moving Saint Lucia forward in 20 years, 40 years, 100 years. It cannot be a 5-year plan.
Absolutely.
America does that, and we're in trouble now.
Yeah.
We can't have it.
Yeah. So thanks for that. Again, we must be the change that we want to see. Here's one from Laura, from Jomo, who was on some time ago. Ladies, how do we package our biocultural heritage to present it to the wider world, instead of coming empty-handed to the table of civilization? Anyone on that? Joanne, does that resonate with you?
Oh, you know, I love me my Jomo.
Oh,
I love Winston. That's my fellow anthropologist. And I love Winston. I can sit with him and talk all day. And I love me some Jomo. Yeah. How can we package it? Jomo knows darn well how they can, because that's what he does. I cannot speak to that, because ain't nobody can speak to that more than Jomo. So let Jomo answer that.
Yeah.
It's nothing like when you know the players, right? Yeah.
Love him to the moon and back.
Yeah. So folks, we're now at 4:28, 2 minutes to wrapping up. Let me thank you, both you, Joanne and Kim, for what has been a most engaging evening and third session. Absolutely love the energy that you ladies have brought from a completely different perspective. And it certainly seems to have energized our audience as well. So let me just sort of hand over some parting words to you both. And I think having started out with Kim, I will go this round with starting out with Joanne, and then Kim, I will invite you, to just give some parting, some closing words. So Joanne, yours.
Did you say me? Okay.
Yes, Joanne. Yeah.
I will close with this. One, I was down there for elections and I was happy to be there for it, but the two-party system cannot work in Saint Lucia. I honestly believe that we should have a system where the best of the best sit and represent Saint Lucia. Saint Lucia is just too small for us to take out one of our smartest people and people willing to represent the island and put them out every 5 years or every 10 years. I honestly feel we need to come together as a government and make decisions and vote the people who are not doing the work out. not the parties. We can't do that. We need to represent like Rwanda. And the last thing, look at people, we got to educate our children on who we are. We just have to. It's not an option.
Thanks, Joanne. Kim, all yours.
I don't know how to follow up to that, you know?
By being Saint Lucian, being you with your story.
Okay, I don't know. I agree with you about the politics, Joanne. I even wonder how is it that representatives do not live in their districts, in the district that they represent? That chess game that they play with representation is really, you know, it's not benefiting St. Lucia at all. And yeah, our government needs to do better. Politics needs to be better in St. Lucia for us to move forward. And yeah, so us little people, we're just gonna be, you know, rolling with the punches, and that's what I'm gonna be doing, Kirk. I'm gonna be rolling with the punches every day. Okay.
Thank you so much, Kim, and thank you, Joanne. And let me say a heartfelt thanks to everyone who came on this afternoon. Thanks for your contributions, for your engagement, and look out for the next in the series. Once I have gone through this, prepped it, I will be posting as usual and sharing links as we have discussed. So everyone, do have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon. And for those who are at home or anywhere where you are enjoying tomorrow as well as the Labor Day holiday, do absolutely enjoy. With that said,
Thank you, Kirk.
have a great evening. My
Thanks,
pleasure,
guys.
Kim.
Kim,
Okay.
we are in Saint Lucia in June. Remember that. Start cooking.
Okay,
Yeah.
Start cooking.
come visit me.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
folks.
guys.